Hello, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Kelly, and I am a pranic healer and spiritual teacher. I combine spiritual wisdom, psychology, and science to help us evolve to the highest level we can during this lifetime. And today we're going to be talking about why the hero's journey is ultimately a solo journey. Solitude is a very important part of our own spiritual journey. In many of the stories about spiritual journey, often known as the hero's journey, the hero will meet people and interact with them, but ultimately the hardest part of their evolution they have to do on their own. And the hardest part is to face the nemesis or the shadow side. Why is this? Because no one can face our shadow side for us. We are the only ones who can do that. So, an example from a very popular hero's journey, The Lord of the Rings, is that Frodo was given the ring and encouraged to throw it into the fires of Mount Doom and destroy it. But this was not easy because the ring represented the love of power. And this is power not as the internal light that we have and developing that, but power over others, manipulation and domination over others, which is the dark side, really. And Frodo started enjoying the feeling of having the ring because it gave him a feeling of power. And it was very easy to do. All he had to do was put the ring on, and suddenly he had all these abilities to wield power over others and manipulate situations. Power is very addictive. And there was a well-known quote from Lord Acton, I think it was 1887, and he said, "Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." And this is really true. So when Frodo finally made the huge trek to Mount Doom, he was holding the ring over the lava, the fire, and he couldn't throw it in. Sam was screaming, "Why don't you just throw it in?" And he couldn't do that. He held it over there on a chain for what seemed like an eternity to the audience. And then he put it on, maybe hoping that he could keep it and escape using the power of the ring. However, and I've seen a lot of YouTube posts where people say Frodo didn't destroy the ring, it was destroyed by mistake, by accident. But that's not true. That is not true. Because the representation of Frodo's dark side, the love of power, was Gollum. Gollum had owned the ring for a long time, and he'd been absolutely destroyed by it. He was no longer a hobbit. He was a monster. And it was because he'd succumbed to the power, the lust for power that the ring gave him. So this was Frodo's dark side, the representation of Frodo's dark side in the movie. And when Frodo puts on the ring and becomes invisible, Gollum jumps on his back and bites off his finger to take the ring. So the dark side of Frodo was taking him over. You see Gollum doing this triumphant dance and screaming with victory. He has the ring. But then you see Frodo, for the first time, you see him abandon that kind of helpless expression that he had throughout the whole film. And suddenly he has this absolute determination on his face. And he staggers up that short hill towards a cliff. Even though he's in great pain and is exhausted, he does it through sheer determination because he is going to defeat Gollum. He is going to fight Gollum. He is going to let that ring go into the fire, even if he has to die himself to do it. And it's amazing to see that suddenly that determination that it's been missing throughout the whole film, written on his face and on his actions. So he grabs Gollum and is determined to fight him and get that ring back. But then they both fall off the cliff. And so this represents how serious Frodo is. He is willing to die. He could have fallen into that lava. But symbolically, the dark side of himself, Gollum, fell into the lava, holding the ring. Gollum was not going to release the ring because that's the dark side, the dark character. And he dies, and the ring is destroyed. Frodo grabs onto the rocks at the side of the cliff and hauls himself up. He decides to live. He decides to do the hard work to gain the internal power. That's what that struggle to climb up those rocks represents. And he almost doesn't do it. He almost lets go. But Sam comes along and says, "Don't you dare let go. Don't you let go, reach, So Frodo, you can see he's not wanting to make the effort at that stage, but then he does. And he makes this supreme effort and flings his arm up, and Sam catches him. And then he's assisted to climb up the rocks towards the light within himself. So it was not an accident. That was a very, very determined decision and actions by Frodo. And this is what we have to do in our everyday hero's journey. We have to decide to let the dark side of us, which is our shadow side, die. Metaphorically die. You let it go. And then you turn towards the light in yourself and drag yourself up the rocks, because it's not easy. The dark side is easy. The light side is not easy. And that's why these struggles are so epic in these journeys and epic in our own life. Because if it was easy, we wouldn't evolve. The fact that it's so difficult to do enables our evolution. Similarly, with another great hero's journey movie, The Matrix, you see that Neo is killed by Agent Smith. And as Agent Smith shoots him, he says, "Goodbye, Mr. Anderson." So Mr. Anderson is Neo's nemesis side, the side that wants to stay safe, wants to stay asleep, believing all the lies that are told and not to make the effort in his own life. So Mr. Anderson dies, and then Neo the light side of his character is able to be born and flourish. And in both of those stories, the hero had to face that nemesis, had to make the decision to face it and face it on their own. So solitude in our own life is needed. It's needed to face these challenges, these sides of ourselves that ultimately we want to let go of. We have to do that on our own, and we need space and time on our own to do that, to identify these parts of ourselves and then to do it. So sometimes when we start to change, you can see family and friends saying, "Oh, you've changed, we want the old you back." Because when you change the story for not just yourself, but for people around you as well. And so a lot of people then don't want to look at themselves, and so they'll encourage you to go back to your old self. But really, we came here not to be popular, not to be liked, but to be determined in our hero's journey, to evolve, to face our shadow side and decide to let these things go so that we can evolve into our highest good, our light side. We take the force into our lives, so to speak, quoting Star Wars. So don't be frightened of solitude. Yes, it can be a lonely road at times, but be happy about that. It's a good thing if you have time on your own to make sense of this and to face these things, because then you are fulfilling your life's mission. This is really why we came here. So I hope that helped you today. If you liked it, then please hit the like and subscribe buttons so I can make more of these videos to help us all awaken and to ascend and evolve. So wherever you are in the world, I wish you all the best. I wish you love and courage in your journey. I'll see you next time. So take care and bye for now.